So I'm going to get started with my brief presentation on managing priorities. So the first step, I wanted to do this list style as recommended by Monica. So the first step I have is identifying your priorities in the first place. So asking yourself, what are my priorities, specifically my non-negotiables in life? And I included not just work-related priorities, but also life-related priorities. And my life-related priorities are sleeping enough, exercising, cultivating my family relationships and friendships, as well as cultivating fun moments in life, because those are the things that help keep us going. For my work-related priorities, I ask these questions before I take on another project. Do I actually want to do this line of work? Who do I want to work with? And which metrics upon which will I be evaluated? So making sure that my work metrics align with how I spend my time. The second step is, how can I be accountable to my priorities? So for me, what's worked best is cultivating support and accountability networks for each domain of my life that is a priority, and tracking these priorities on a daily basis. So how does that look like in my life? Well, the first one, which I've brought up in prior WeWe presentations, is my weekly accountability writing partner, who's Dr. Smith on the left. So Dr. Smith and I met in the first graduate school course, microeconomics, that we took together in 2012. So we've been friends for 11 years now. And during our last year of graduate school, which was 2017 to 2018, we realized that we both wanted to be mutual dissertation completion writing partners. So we would meet at the library, Mann Library, at 7:30 a.m. every weekday and sit next to each other, and have our Pomodoro, which is in the little iPad in the middle, and write for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. So we did that for the year of 2017 to 2018. And once we both went to different positions, both doing postdocs at different universities, we continued our accountability through text message check-ins every Monday and every Friday. So every Monday we text each other, as you can see on the very right, with our goals, writing goals for the week. And every Friday we check in and actually say, okay, so what did we get accomplished? So we've been doing that. We've been accountability partners from 2017 till now. That's 6 years. And we have each of our milestones that keep adding up. Dr. Smith just published his first book, which I got in the mail last week. So it's just been incredible to see how these weekly check-ins have led to big career changes. Another part of my daily accountability for writing is I'm part of a faculty Women of Color writing group at ASU. We meet every day from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and we write together. So that's been going on since January 2021. And how it works is that we check in from 8 to 8:10 a.m. on what each of our writing goals will be for that specific 2-hour block. And at 9:50 a.m. we check out and say what we actually accomplished. So this not only creates a community of writing support, it also creates opportunities to discuss challenges that may come up that we can quickly work through in that 10-minute check-in or 10-minute checkout period. And it's been instrumental to making sure that I put writing first every morning. Another is I'm part of a Zumba. I'm very involved in my gym. So I go to Zumba 4 times a week and a cardio muscle class every Saturday. And I'm friends with the instructors and they'll text me if I don't come to class and ask me if I'm okay. So I have that check-in built into my workout routine, and that's helped me make sure that I prioritize my health, especially with the things that I love. And I really love dancing. It's just one of those non-negotiables that make my life better. I also track my priorities with regards to health every day on Google Sheets. So I have this spreadsheet, and I'm happy to share with anyone who wants, where I track all of my health-related goals. So that means going to bed by a certain time, sleeping, reaching 10,000 steps, for example, going to the gym, stretching at night. So This way I can really be accountable to actually making sure that I'm taking care of myself on a daily basis. And I also have my work-related tasks underneath that, so I can make sure that I'm making progress towards each of my work-related projects. So the third step is, how can I align my priorities in life now that I've identified them and created accountability systems for them with my time and energy levels? For me, I need to write first thing in the morning because by the afternoon I have very little energy. So I make sure through my writing accountability group that I do that first thing in the morning. And then I tend to do email and teaching related tasks in the afternoon. So what keeps me accountable to not checking email frequently is this inbox pause function on Gmail, which I added about 3 years ago. This is how it looks like. Here I included the link, but this is actually how it looks like a screenshot. So it says that my inbox is currently paused. I have to unpause it to see what new emails are waiting for me. So that way I'm not inundated with new emails that come in and feel the compulsive need to check them every hour. I have a dedicated block of time to checking them. And then the last step is reassessing and readjusting. So asking myself what worked for me this week. Was I overly ambitious with my work and life plan? And also giving myself grace. There's only so much I can do in a given day, and not being too hard on myself with whether or not I was able to complete a work task or not. So I'll end it there, and I'm really looking forward to the comments, learning from Mercy on her suggestions on managing priorities.
So managing priorities. So my first tip is to create a career plan. So I think I probably have spoken with a number of you about this, and in various settings, but we really encourage the use of individual development plans here. We call them career advancement plans because a lot of times people think of an IDP as something a student or a postdoc does. So we call it a career advancement plan. And the important thing about those plans are to have different goals that span different time horizons. We have long-term goals with an example, establish a research program studying the contribution of sleep to psychological health. But a medium-term goal would be to secure a research grant to build the research team and generate the data. And then short-term goals. Maybe I need to carry out an environmental survey to figure out what the gaps are in the literature. So this career advancement plan has to have these goals in it, because the career advancement plan is really a roadmap. And how would you know where you're going if you didn't have a map? Somebody said to me once, when's the last time you packed for a trip without knowing the destination? How would you know what to do? And I think when you do that, you end up coming up with priorities. And this common metaphor that people use in talking about life priorities are the rocks, pebbles, and sand. And the challenge is, what is the best strategy to get the most rocks, pebbles, and sand in a jar? And the best strategy is to put the big things in first, put the rocks in, the most important things. And then you put in the pebbles as the next size down. And then you fill in with the sand, all the small things in life. And so it's setting the priorities. This ties to the first statement, which is set a career plan and priorities. And, when I meet with people to talk about their career advancement plan, I think, as Sherry pointed out, what your life is, the jar, is not just your work. That jar has to contain every aspect of your life, because it's balance that will bring you happiness and joy. Protect your time and protect your priorities. Nobody cares more about your priorities than you do. For example, I'm coming off of, my kids have not had camp for the last 3 weeks, and today was the first day of school. I could barely get anything done. So, with the little bit of time that there may be away on a play date, and I've got 3 uninterrupted hours from them, what do I do first? It's very easy for me to look through my email and say, 12 people have a problem. Maybe I should deal with their problems. But then what about my priorities? So at the end of the day, you really need to think about moving your own priorities forward first. But there's a balance. I want to be a good collaborator. Everybody wants to be a person of their word. Be a good priority, because your priorities may require collaboration to execute. And if you're constantly putting other people at the back of the line, nobody's ever going to put you at the front of the line. And one thing I think is very important and really refers back to the priority setting that you do in your career advancement plan is that when you need to graciously back out of doing something, refer back to your career plan for that gracious out, especially if you find yourself having to deprioritize what's important to you. Why are you making that trade-off if you do need to make that trade-off? So I think setting aside time for what one would call executive functioning is really important. Priorities can and should change over time, and emergencies happen that interfere with your priorities. So you should review your progress on a regular schedule and reprioritize as needed. I got advice from someone saying, at the beginning or the end of each unit of time, be it a day, a week, or a month, and probably some combination, say, okay, what am I going to get done that day? And what's funny is if I actually sit down to do this at the beginning of the day and spend the first 10 minutes of my day looking at what's coming up for the day, looking at when I have breaks in my schedule when I'm not in meetings, and I do a lot online with planning software and different things because then I have it everywhere, but it just really helps me to sit down with a piece of paper and say, these are the 4 things I'm going to try to do today. And then when I have a break or if some meeting ends early, I can look quickly and say, oh, I know, book travel to this meeting or do this. And then I can just look down right here on my list and just check it off. This executive functioning timing should be done at least on a weekly basis as you look out to see what's the horizon, what can I put onto my schedule that fits with my priorities. And then, use your scheduling system in a way where you can tell at a glance, what is the level? So when this final bullet point during this executive function time, highlight clearly what your priorities are. So it's a reminder that you can just tell at a glance. If you're using Outlook, you can put things in different colors, right? Like if it's a high priority item, maybe it needs to be yellow. If it's a lower priority, it's a different color. Or you can put something in parentheses next to it. In one of my scheduling task lists, I have different categories, whether something is important and urgent, whether it is not important but urgent, whether it is neither important nor urgent, or then whatever that other third domain is that I mixed up and didn't list. But I can look at it that way. I can also look at it by the estimated amount of time it's going to take. And that's another strategy where I say, okay, if I've got 30 minutes today, let me do a 30-minute task. But then the final point, which I'm so glad was the same final point that Sherry had, which is that you need to reevaluate and revise. Your priorities should continue to evolve always. When you set priorities, you know that you need to adapt and adjust them when new opportunities arise. And it's funny, even when I was writing that bullet point, I initially was thinking, oh, when problems happen or emergencies. But let's think beyond how do you handle an emergency? What about opportunities, right? So the NIH will suddenly put out a big announcement saying, hey, we're funding research in this topic. I might have said a priority is for me to work on this grant and finish these 2 papers, but gosh, look at this new opportunity. And so then you go back and you reevaluate your priorities. I think seeking feedback on your priorities is really important because I've met with people, with mentees of mine, and they've said something was their priority. And I've said, I don't actually think that first step is necessary for you to get to the next step. And so just seeking feedback and really talking about it. And it becomes a feedback loop. So that is all I have about setting priorities, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.